Good morning, everybody, if it's morning when you watch this video. If not, good afternoon. Today's video landed on Christmas, so to those of you that celebrate Christmas, I would like to say Merry Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, I believe today is the last day of Hanukkah, or if you celebrate Yule, which was a few days ago, or this week, Merry Yule. If you don't celebrate any of those, I hope you guys, if you celebrate a holiday, have a good holiday season at this end of the year. And if not, well, it's almost New Year's, so happy almost New Year's. Coffee. So, today's video we are going to be talking about food. If you have a familiar or you just received one, what do you feed it? Well, first of all, welcome back to the Astral Academy. Saturday usually lands on Saturday for some reason. That's just how it works out. Spiritual Saturday. So when or if you ever receive a familiar, they do require a specific amount of energy in terms of food. Now you can feed them with the energy of physical items such as talismans imbued with energy that you would like them to take from said talisman or amulet, or I suppose you could even go as far as to wear a necklace and it will become imprinted with your energy on it, and since you wear it every day, you'll be able to feed them off of that necklace. Now that's termed in terms of physical items that could provide spiritual essence to them. For the most part, a familiar may be most powerful when you first receive it. So any very important task that you would like for it to have, I would definitely try and get it to achieve said task as soon as you receive the familiar, or just achieve the goal that you want to achieve when you first get it by asking it to do that task that you summon them for. Now there's different ways you can feed a familiar. Besides just the energy of physical items, you can feed them with the energy of gratitude, which is my recommendation. But it is very important to feed them or let them hibernate if you can't feed them, which basically means they just go into their spiritual realm and they just either fly or crawl or just be in that energy zone that they're used to, that they were born from, or you just let them sleep until you're able to feed them adequately. Now, feeding familiars, yes. So if you give them more energy, they will be more effective and more efficient at the tasks that you want them to do. But there is a stipulation, as there always is with things of this nature. So they are living sentient spirits with their own abilities, cognitive functions, and intelligence levels of varying intelligence. So first of all, if you don't respect them, they won't listen to you. Some of them might, but ultimately in the end you're gonna have a lot of issues, and I will talk about that in the next video. And I will share some of my experiences with familiars that, well, we'll talk about that in the next video. So the quality of food, as well as just the quantity, is also very important. You don't just want to give them a bunch of terrible energy. When I say terrible, I mean filling them with rage, anger, and sadness. It is possible to just feed them these things, but it will alter their attitude and their ability to communicate with you. It's like low-grade food versus higher-grade food. The higher vibrational energy and some of the more powerful energy that you can give them, they can and will feed off of. And if you get them used to feeding off of powerful energy forces, they will get used to it. And sometimes they won't accept anything less than it, which can create a bunch of different problems in your relationship with this spirit, your symbiotic relationship with their existence. Now, I believe that they exist and were solely created for the purpose in which we asked them to be created for. So if you needed protection, they are created as beings of protection for you specifically. There's a part of their soul, of their very essence, that was carved from the energy is never created, never created or destroyed, only transferred. So they were carved out of an essence of the spirit you asked from them, and they were given to you upon request. I do believe that they can be reabsorbed into that spirit, but just bear in mind that they are not capable of all the things that we want them to be, because they were created with a specific purpose in mind. If you need them for protection and you didn't specify the situation, it will be created specifically for protection. And if not properly cared for and respected, like any other living being that has the ability to understand pain or happiness, well, they can... I'll explain that in the next video. But let's talk about the more powerful methods of feeding, right? So, how should I say this? Offering your unchastised energy to the spirit, yeah, that sounds right, is a very powerful form of feeding your familiar, and it can give it a very intense boost, and it can also bond it quicker to you. Once again, if you give it too much of this energy, it won't eat anything else. So they are, at their core, like wild animals. And if you don't respect forces of nature, well, they tend to destroy you. And the last, probably not the last, I'm sure there's a myriad of other ways you can feed your familiar that people have brought to the table when it comes to this specific thing. It may at times seem like an ingenious and insurmountable or self-replenishing way of feeding these spirits. Life energy in the form of a sacrifice like blood will also give them a very immense boost of energy. I do not recommend doing that. In my experience, it doesn't end very well. It's like giving them the highest quality food, and once they receive that, they don't want anything. They refuse to take anything else. So you have to be very careful, and I would recommend, as always, to communicate with the spirit and see what it would want, and then use caution when compromising with the spirit as far as what it will allow you to feed it. But don't think that it has all of that power. You can say no, just like the spirit can say no. If you're uncomfortable, then you don't have to do specific things with feeding this specific kind of energy or entity that you have pulled into your gravitational awareness. And these spirits are very powerful, very intense. And some of you may notice as you feed them specific energy that it changes their level of perception or awareness and their wants and desires. They may crave specific things from you, including your attention or just your energy in communicating with it, because really and truly it doesn't communicate with a lot of other spirits, except for the ones that may be trying to protect you from, or sometimes it may communicate with the spirit that you originally were gifted the familiar from. But it doesn't have a lot of friends. A lot of times their energy is lumped into your own energetic and auric field, so other people, if they were clairsentient, may not even notice that you have a familiar. And I have read that communicating with people that your familiar is, or that you even have one, will make them half as powerful, maybe in terms of working with that person that you told the information to, or just in general. I don't exactly agree to that, but if you're someone who errs on the jaws or lines of caution, then perhaps keeping that information to yourself would be more beneficial to you if you notice, if you notice it. And I think for the last part of this video, it may become more difficult as time goes on if you keep asking spirits for different familiars and you do not return the energy if you are not willing to feed it. These energies can get out of control. Sometimes they're like children. You have a dynamic of power within the family of familiars that you take into your fold, and if not properly cared for and not given the right attention, like you pay more attention to your bird type familiar than you do your other familiars, right? Then there's going to be more unease, because they're not dumb and they will communicate to you in whichever way that you can perceive the messages that they're trying to tell you. And a lot of times you may just feel uneasy around a specific familiar because it may start noticing you feeding the other ones more, and it might start being upset with you or being angry because it feels weak and it wants to live too. So be careful with trying to juggle too many at a time, because at a certain point it will start to take from your energy a lot more, and it becomes more difficult to, well, basically they'll feel more alive than you do, and you don't really want spirits taking energy off of you, and the dynamic can be unbalanced, and the next thing you know, you have self-aware spirits that you have asked for to be created for you that are siphoning off your life essence, and basically what that is a parasite. So be careful with what you feed your familiar. Basic things. Start with basic things, and if you need a little bit more of a jump of energy, perhaps sit and feed the energy of a familiar, like feed the energy to the familiar more to get a specific task done and make it clear that this is only a one-time thing, or one of those cases where it's not very common for you to give that much energy to them. So I think that's it on feeding these wondrous, sentient, and beautiful familiar creatures. That's all the knowledge I could really scratch off the top of my head at the moment. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. If you like this video, smash that like button, leave me a subscribe. And I am also on TikTok. I'm working on changing my name because I have 2 T's. But that's a whole nother story. So I hope everybody has a good holiday. If you're not celebrating, I hope you have a good day or a good rest of your week or a good New Year. So Yeah. Bye.